All right, welcome into Main Event Fantasy. My name is Nick, aka Perfect 216, and we have a special show tonight. We may be getting into a Great Dane, which is a $200 entry draft, and we're also going to get into some Best Ball Mania. So it could be a very eventful show. I got a reminder over my shoulder here to draft Jaylen Warren. I haven't forgotten that all year, and it's more of a reminder for you than it is for me because he could be your league winner this year. So with that being said, we've got a lot of news to talk about today. There's a lot of nervousness in Miami, a lot of things going on with the Jets, injuries, all sorts of stuff. So we'll get into it here shortly. If you're new here and you're not sure what we're doing, we're drafting on Underdog Fantasy. If you look in the description below, I have a link there for you where you can click in and join Underdog Fantasy. It's my favorite place to draft fantasy football teams because these are best ball teams. Best ball means you draft your team and the best players play every week. There's no time commitment during the regular season. There's no waiver wires, no trades, nothing to worry about. That's how I'm able to draft hundreds of teams every single year. And let's see real quick. So in this one, this is a $200 entry tournament. Let's see how many seats are in and see if we're going to get into it tonight or not, because if never mind, it won't happen. So we will leave this draft because there's nobody in it. We'll try again tomorrow. So we'll start with a Best Ball Mania draft. We have 41 more to go. So with Best Ball Mania, it is the largest tournament that they have for fantasy football. $2 million for first place, $1 million for second, $500,000 for third, and so on. Two more places in this draft if you want to draft with us live. We'd love to have you here and enjoying the evening with us. I have drafted over 500 teams. We'll be over 600 soon enough, and hopefully get to almost 700 teams by the time we start the regular season. The reason we can do that is because we can draft these best ball teams. And if you're new to best ball, Underdog is a place to do it. Real quick, on the screen, you'll see a map where if your state is in yellow, you are able to draft Underdog fantasy teams. You can join Underdog as long as you are meeting the age requirements. And it is my favorite place to doing it. I've been doing it over 4 years now. In addition to my regular redraft and home leagues, this does not replace that, but it definitely gives you another place to do it where you can win money, prepare for your regular redraft and home leagues like I do, where I'm going to have a huge advantage because I've drafted so many teams already that I have seen every strategy. I have played against real players, and I know how my teams will feel best going into the season. So I give myself an advantage, and I highly recommend that you guys do it as well. All right, we have the 106 to start tonight, and that feels like a nice little place to begin our evening, right in the middle of the board. And Jamar Chase goes at 1, Bijan at 2, CeeDee Lamb at 3. With me only having 41 more shots at these Best Ball Mania teams, I really want to focus in on what I'm doing. You will see the ADP in the middle, which is the average draft position of the majority of the league. That's that average. And then my rankings that I've put in here on the left. So at 6, we'll get Justin Jefferson. I have him as ranked 2 still. Some people kind of saw him kicked on down draft boards, mostly because of that little Achilles scare that he had, and everything seems to be just fine. They're probably just being cautious with him. But still, it has been enough to scare people into drafting him at the 2 like he's been earlier in the season. But for me, I'm just going to say thank you and keep sending him my way. But tonight we really need to focus in. We want to get some unique teams. We're going to look at ADP and see where we can get values. And then if we don't have a value at ADP, we will use my ranks to kind of justify the right decision there. As we're coming around the other end here, it'll be interesting to see what happens to Devon Achane. People are freaking out because he does have a soft tissue injury, and the actual Mike McDaniel told the reporters that he would be out between days and weeks, and they'll be reassessed this week in Miami. But he didn't sound very concerned that they would miss the start of the regular season. But we'll see if that impacts people's willingness to draft him here. And so far, they did not, because he went where he normally goes at the 1-2 turn. All right. I would love for A.J. Brown to fall here. He would be my preferred player to fall, and he does not. So we can go to the Ladd McConkey, Chase Brown, Jonathan Taylor. I think I'm going to go ahead and grab Chase Brown here. He's the next highest on ADP. And y'all know how I feel about Ladd McConkey. I think he's a 3rd-round pick this year, not a 2nd-round pick. He's in a run-first offense, and even though he's a 1, he's still in a run-first offense. And I just think that there's other options or opportunities for folks where he goes. So when we get Jefferson and Chase Brown, not really that unique of a start, only because earlier in the year, Jefferson was going at the 1-2 area. I'm sorry, picks 1 and 2. Chase Brown was going at the 2-3 turn. So there are plenty of teams that will have Justin Jefferson and Chase Brown in the Best Ball Mania, in this tournament. So that means we're going to have to see what other ways we can get unique and just make sure we draft a really solid team and don't make any mistakes as we're drafting. All right. Tyreek Hill, T. Higgins, these are all opportunities that we would have here. Kyren Williams. I guess T. Higgins would be an option as well. Tyreek Hill goes. So they're both around the same ADP. I feel like I'm going to go ahead and go Kyren Williams here. And that'll be our double anchor running back start with Chase Brown and Kyren Williams. And we'll see how this team fares. I don't know too many teams that I have with Kyren Williams on it, let alone with Jamar Chase and Chase Brown on the same team. So that will give us a little bit of a uniqueness there, at least for my teams. And when you're competing against 672,000 other teams, you value uniqueness, you value ADP and closing line value. You do want to stack your quarterbacks with your pass catchers to raise the ceiling. And you also want to try and correlate week 17 with a couple of players from games that you think might go off. And those are ways that you can kind of maximize your ceiling. We talk about it every week, and there always continues to be questions on that. And that's okay. That's what we're here to talk about. All right, McMillan goes at the 3-4 turn. There was news on Terry McLaurin today. Maybe it was yesterday, actually, that he is off the PUP list, which is nice from a health standpoint, but it doesn't do anything for his contract negotiations. I'm still adamant that I think he's going to sign some sort of an extension. I don't think it'll be what he wants, but I don't think he's going to get traded. All right, so we'll just take the next 4 wide receivers, throw them on here in order. I would love for Garrett Wilson to come back. Garrett Wilson never goes in the 4th round, and he won't here. Well, I guess he did, just not to me. That would have been a pretty rare get to get Garrett Wilson to fall to the 4th round, but it was not meant to be. When we start with two anchor running backs, the normal strategy would be to pivot over to either elite quarterbacks, if there is one, and then if not, then we're just going to pummel wide receiver. And Jalen Hurts goes, so he was the last elite quarterback of the tier. I didn't think he'd get down to us anyway to the 5th round. That's pretty rare. There was some news today from the Texans standpoint. The Texans traded John Mechie in a 6th round pick, and the Eagles to the Eagles, and they got Harrison Bryant, tight end Harrison Bryant, and a 5th round pick in return. So what do I think that does for fantasy purposes? Nothing really, other than John Mechie is another guy in Houston that gets out of the way of the flood of wide receivers that are already in the room that they must feel good about. So. And I'm perfectly okay with that. All right. So we're either going to go Calvin Ridley or Devonta Smith here. I could go either way on this, regardless of where Waldo here goes, or M-Wald. Thought it said Waldo. And he goes Smith. So we'll take Ridley here as our 3rd wide receiver. He is a wide receiver 1 on his team, where they are minimal weapons. So I think he's going to have a pretty good amount of targets in this offense, and an offense that I expect to need to throw because they should probably be playing from behind, will be my guess. I was hoping tonight we'd get into that $200 entry Great Dane, but I don't know if it's going to happen. There was nobody in the room earlier. We'll see after this draft if there's anyone in the room. It usually takes, a little bit of time to fill those, and you got to kind of get lucky to have enough people that are wanting to or can afford to throw a couple of darts at $200 in one draft. Couple other news pieces real quick while we're coming around. So speaking of Miami, and I know I mentioned the soft tissue injury with Achane, I think he's going to be fine. I don't think you should be afraid to draft him. If you were worried about Jaylen Warren, wow. Jalen Wright being an issue as the RB2, clearly, I would not worry too much about that. Alexander Madison, unfortunately, is now having season-ending neck surgery. So he's out. If anything, that does a little bit for Ali, who got drafted in, I think it was round 6 in the NFL draft this year. I don't think he's anybody I'd probably bother taking too much of, because I don't want running back 3s on my team, because you just you risk wasting a draft slot there. So we're either going to go Rome Odunze or Stefon Diggs, depending on what falls here. I think we'll just stick with what I like best, which is Rome here. I've gotten a lot of him this year. Year 2 wide receiver on an offense that's probably ascending. And Rome was a first-round draft pick, and draft capital matters because that means the team's invested in you. It means you have a high talent profile for them to put that kind of faith in you. So I think that they will give him the ball more than they did last year. And if I just take a quick peek at his performance last year, so we can understand, what are the chances he can outplay his expectations, right? Last year, he was only ranked 49th in wide receivers. He had an 85% snap share, 101 targets, 54 receptions, only had 3 touchdowns. So low touchdowns, low on receptions, but he had a good amount of targets, was on the field a lot. So he's going at wide receiver 29 at the average drafts, maybe not an underdog, but average drafts. And so I think that there's a good opportunity for him to excel this year. I think it really depends on Caleb Williams. Is he going to take that next step or not? And if he doesn't, then Rome and my Rome teams may be a little rough. Y'all know how I feel about my man Juwan Jennings. I want nothing to do with him, so he will not be selected on this team. But I think I will do Patrick Mahomes to pair him up with Xavier Worthy as our first quarterback. As I shared earlier, you definitely want to stack a quarterback with pass catchers. 1 or 2 is ideal. You can stack more than that. You can also stack running backs if you really feel that way and want to do an onslaught. But 1 to 2 is proven by data with these best ball teams as ideal, because if your wide receiver goes off, if Worthy goes off, that means Mahomes is going with him, and vice versa. So we want guys that drag the others up, because that increases our ceiling. Jaylen Warren goes. Y'all know Jaylen Warren is my most drafted running back and will continue to be. Where he's going in drafts is normally ridiculous. He never goes in the 7th round here. That's a little bit higher than he's ever gone. But he's getting drafted well below where he should. He is the starting running back on the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is a run-heavy offense. Think of him like Chase Brown last year. That could be him this year. All right, so we will take Travis Kelce and double stack Kelce and Worthy with Mahomes and feel fantastic about it. Really like how this team is coming together. You'll notice when I'm doing this, I'm not reaching very far. You don't want to reach too far early in drafts. Usually the first, 3 to 4 to 5 picks is kind of the range you want to stay in, so you can capitalize on the ADP and you don't give away value. However, the later rounds, when you get past rounds 11, 12, and into the later rounds, you can feel free to scroll down a little bit further in your teams. All right, 6 picks away. We need to start looking at more. Ideally, Michael Pittman would be nice here to be our 5th wide receiver. There's kind of a drop off after him. We could make the argument that we want to get a running back here, as well. But I don't want to fall behind on wide receiver. So if you don't know, with best ball teams, you start 1 quarterback, 1 tight end, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and a flex. The flex can be a running back, wide receiver, or tight end. This is not a super flex league. And so when you have to start 3 wide receivers and 4 if you're using the flex, you really cannot afford to fall behind at wide receiver. So we're going to scroll down just a little bit. I'm going to break my rule slightly here. Etienne and Dobbins are guys that I like here. I don't really correlate these. These quarterbacks don't correlate with my team, so I don't really need them. And I'm scrolling down because I can't afford to fall too far behind on wide receiver. And there is definitely a big fat tier breakdown here of we just go into ghost mode. And there are plenty of running backs, tight ends, and quarterbacks to come. So usually if you look here, we are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rounds in. When you're 9 rounds in, you minimally have to have 2 to 3 running backs and 5 wide receivers, no matter what. So I would say 2 or 3 running backs, 5 wide receivers, guaranteed. And then you can decide if your 9th pick somewhere in there was an elite quarterback or 1 quarterback or an elite tight end is usually how you do it. If you start double anchor running back, then you could do what I did here and get a quarterback and a tight end. But you really have to minimally, by round 9, have 5 wide receivers to give yourself a realistic chance at being successful. I thought this guy's name said Uncle Bluey. My 2-year-old is learning how much he loves Bluey, or if nothing else, he likes the theme song, and he wants me to put it on replay. Oh, man. I'm going to try and get in 3 drafts tonight. I want to make sure we stay ahead of the curve here. Caleb Williams might be a good option here. Bateman would be a good option here. I'm going to go ahead and get Caleb Williams here and be done with 2 quarterbacks. I think that feels good enough for me. I don't have too much Christian Kirk, but I don't dislike him at all, especially when you need a wide receiver. And I definitely want to get my 6th one here soon, because after this break of wide receivers, I'm not a big fan, and there's a ton of tight ends and running backs that I really like in the next range. So we're going to be pummeling on those guys. So while that happens, we definitely want to try and ideally get a stab at a wide receiver. All right. Well, that didn't happen. So we're going to look at pivoting to the running back position. And we'll play it as it comes. I don't have a lot of Tank Bigsby, and he's kind of been 50-50 with the ones. Man, he might even be the goal line back. So I do want to have a little piece of him on my team. So I'll grab Tank Bigsby here at 126, and we'll keep it moving. And if you join this video, learn anything, enjoy any of the content, I would just appreciate if you would throw a like on the stream. Subscribe. I do go live every night between 10 and midnight, sometimes earlier. And we draft live fantasy football teams right here on Underdog Fantasy. I've drafted over 500 teams and will continue to draft them leading up to, and then I'll get into some daily sports betting and prop bets, player prop bets, as we get into the regular season and update you on how our teams are doing. So please join, subscribe to the channel, and be part of the main event movement. All right. So Marvin Mims could be here. We don't need a quarterback, so we're avoiding those. I really like Trey Benson, but he goes, so we may pass that. You know, and if all these guys go, we may have to continue to pivot. All right, we'll see what comes back around. I don't have a lot of Marvin Mims. He is looking like the pure running back. Wow, wide receiver 2 in Denver. I'm not a big fan of his talent level. I just don't think he's that talented, and I don't have that much faith in Bo Nix. Might be in the minority a little bit, but I don't have that much faith in him, so I don't get a ton of him. However, when we have Kansas City, we want a Week 17 bring back, and they played Denver in Week 17. And so now by getting Marvin Mims on our team, we now have a correlation to that Week 17 game where if Kansas City, Denver go off, We have some players on both sides that score a ton of points. This might be what we need to win $2 million. So that's kind of how that works. All right. So we've got a 2-3-6-1 build going right now. Kyle Pitts would be a nice choice here. If not, I might pivot down here to my man Cedric Tillman. And there's plenty more running backs still to come that I'm feeling good about that would fit our team well. I don't know if Kyle Pitts will make it all the way back to us. There's a team with no tight ends. There's actually 2 teams with no tight ends between us and 3 teams with 1. So the chance of Kyle Pitts making it back is pretty slim. You do see Hollywood Brown was there. He just got picked. He could be in consideration, but I don't like to go more than 2 pass catchers ideally with my teams. I will do it on some occasions when the value is correct. Shamrock, good evening, my friend. Nice to see you. Thanks for being in here. You are in here at our first Best Ball Mania of the night. I was trying to get into a Great Dane, a $200 entry, and there was nobody in the room. We'll check again once this draft is over and see if there's a chance that tonight's the night we get into one. But I don't know if it'll happen, but we'll see. Bryce Young goes 147. Samson at 148. We'll see what Wald here does. I'm going to keep calling this guy Waldo just because my eyes have deceived me, and it makes me think that his name is Waldo. All right, so Cedric Tillman, my man, falls my way. Y'all know I like him. He is a pretty much locked in number 2 wide receiver in Cleveland. And again, when you get later in the drafts, in these later rounds in best ball, most likely your wide receivers 5, 6, 7, 8 are not scoring as many points as your wide receivers 1 through 4. So you're not counting on them as often, but you need some spike weeks. And the best way to get spike weeks from these guys is having them on the field. If they're going to be on the field 85% of snaps, then there's a good chance they could have a spike week. When you pick guys that are wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5, running back 3, or they're on bad offenses, etc., it really just increases the chances that these are dead roster spots. And data has shown when you go into, if you make it into the playoffs or you get into even the finals, folks with more than 1 or 2 dead roster spots are at a serious disadvantage. So we want to avoid doing that ourselves. I heard B-Rob may hit the trade block. Good for JCM. Maybe. I've heard that too. I don't know if that was just a rumor or if that's really going to happen. He is in a contract year, so maybe they don't feel like, hey, I'm not going to pay this guy. Maybe that I can get value from him. So maybe they like that. I don't know for sure, but I'm not sure if I feel like they should or shouldn't, right? Like, what's the sorry. I'm going to take Rachaad White here. Like if they trade him, then you're going into the season with Austin Eckler as your lead back. I don't know. I feel like if they're a team that really believes they can contend, unless they're going to get another running back in return, or they really believe that much in their rookie that they drafted, I just find it hard to believe they're willing to give up, give him up already, and I think they have a nice 1-2 punch because B-Rob's a guy who, Brian Robinson is a goal line guy, a between the tackles guy, a thumper a little bit. And then you have a pass catcher, a return guy who is Austin Eckler. And I still think they can flex in the rookie if they want to and if they show value, but I think they really would put themselves in a little bit of a hole if they traded him. I don't know what they feel their roster needs, that if they traded him, they'd get something in return that would really make them stronger. So I don't really know what that would be. You know? Chig would be my pick here to be our second tight end if he gets there. Y'all know I love Chig this year. He is a very athletic tight end in a year two. And just like Calvin Ridley is going on a team where we have a brand new, shiny new quarterback who, let's hope's decent, right? At least for this team that I'm drafting. And if he is, I'm hearing in camp he might be their second most targeted player. He might be priority number 2 in that offense. So he could end up being like Trey McBride for Tennessee, right? You know, it's either Trey McBride or it's Marvin Harrison, right? It could be Chig or Calvin Ridley. You know, that might be how they play it. So we'll take Chig here. So we now have 2-4-7-2 so far. Patrick Mahomes, Caleb Williams, running back Chase Brown, Kyron Williams, Tank Bigsby, Rashad White, wide receiver Justin Jefferson, Xavier Worthy, Calvin Ridley, Rome Odunze, Rashid Shaheed, Marvin Mims, Cedric Tillman, and then tight end we have Travis Kelce and Chig Okonkwo. We will definitely get a third tight end. Can't stop here. They both have a bye week of 10, so I don't want to have a dead position. And I think I need another piece of talent there anyway. We're done at quarterback. We'll get one more running back, and we're getting close to the end here. So tight end, a running back, and a wide receiver is what we will grab here at the end. And then we'll kind of recap the team and see where we go. We will get into another one after this. Before I get into the next Best Ball Mania, I will look at the $200 Great Dane draft and see if there is a chance that there is some action going on there. We don't need quarterback. We are strictly running back, wide receiver, tight end through the rest of this draft. Normally when I get down here, I kind of switch over more to my ranks than I do the ranks of ADP. And I think I know a couple players I definitely want to get on this team. So we'll go ahead and grab Miles Sanders here. And he'll be our last running back on the team. And then at tight end, I want to go ahead and grab, where did he go? Cole Kmet. With Cole Kmet, he's technically the number 1 tight end. I don't know if he's going to stay that way, obviously, with Colston Loveland, first-round draft pick on the team. However, I think they're still going to use him. And we do have Caleb Williams. We can correlate him with a double stack with Rome, and that increases his value. And if I'm going to have Cole Kmet on any teams, you should only have him on teams that you correlate him with Caleb Williams to increase that upside. So we will take a stab. You know, this is Best Ball Mania. We're trying to beat 672,000 other teams. And if I get into the finals and I'm trying to get $2 million and I have Caleb Williams on my team, I want to be the team with Cole Kmet because he's not getting drafted in most of the leagues anyway. So if he's not getting drafted and he happens to be the guy that catches 2 touchdown passes in that game, then I've got a serious advantage. So I want to take a little bit of swings at guys like that. And when we have Travis Kelce and Chig on the team already, chances are we don't need him regularly, but he might be the guy you need in the fantasy football playoffs to pop off, right? Shamrock says, do you think Breece Hall will split the backfield with Allen? Absolutely, I do. I have been on this train for a while, pretty much since June, I think. I've been saying this. I think they're going to be a 50-50 split, and they're going to ride the hot hand. I think they're just going to stick a guy out there. If he gets stuffed, great. We'll stick somebody else out there. The way we'll take Troy Franklin here. The way they're doing this, it just continues to make me believe that they like both running backs. And I think they're both talented. I really do. But the difference is for me, I'm drafting a ton of Braylon Allen because he's going, let's see where he's going now in this draft. He went here in the 12th round, right? And if he's going to be on the field almost as much or more than Breece Hall, who's going in the 4th round, I'll take the guy in the 12th, 8 rounds later, and everybody else can take this guy in the 4th. And meanwhile, I'll have a guy like Garrett Wilson on my team where if we reversed it up, would you rather have Braylon Allen and Garrett Wilson? I'm just using that as an example. I guess there's some other example. Or would you rather have Braylon Allen and Xavier Worthy on your team? Or would you rather have Breece Hall and Marvin Mims, right? Because that's kind of that's kind of the 2v2 you're playing, right, when you do this. And I'll take Braylon Allen and Xavier Worthy over Breece Hall and Marvin Mims. But that's just me. I might be in the minority. But I've talked to a lot of people that see it the same way I do. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Breece Hall is extremely talented. I think they just happen to stumble into a guy in Braylon Allen who's also very, very talented. And he happens to be very much in good graces with the coaching staff. But we'll see. Yesterday in a draft, I don't remember if I streamed it or not, but I got Breece Hall in the 5th round. I've never seen him go in the 5th round, ever. It was a ridiculously weird draft. All right. So let's recap this team. We have a 2-5-8-3 build. We have Kansas City and Chicago as our teams that we're stacking. So Patrick Mahomes, Caleb Williams at quarterback, running back Chase Brown, Kyron Williams, Tank Bigsby, Rachaad White, Miles Sanders. Wide receiver, we have Justin Jefferson, Xavier Worthy, Calvin Ridley, Rome Odunze, Rashid Shaheed, Marvin Mims, Cedric Tillman, Troy Franklin. Tight end, we have Travis Kelce, Chig Okonkwo, and Cole Kmet. With Kansas City, we did double stack Travis Kelce and Xavier Worthy with Mahomes. With Chicago, we did double stack Rome with Cole Kmet as well. And then for Kansas City, we do have 2 Denver wide receivers. This was done intentionally. I don't take a lot of them, but we have Kansas City plays Denver in week 17. So if these 2 guys go off, on that same game that they play Kansas City, and then my Kansas City team goes off, and it's the highest scoring game of the week, we could win $2 million. And that's how this team wins. So I really like how this team played out. Don't hate it at all. So we're going to grab into one more. Let's take a quick peek here where am I at? NFL. Let's take a quick peek at the Great Dane. It's 5 entry max, $200 entry, 1,100 entrants will be in it. And it's, 30,000 to first place. It's already 65% filled, but it doesn't fill that quickly because it is a large entry tournament. Let's click in here and let's see if there's a shot it fills. And it's not going to happen. I'm the only one in here. So it's not going to happen tonight. We will try it again tomorrow, hopefully. In the meantime, looking at Best Ball Mania, 672,000 entrants, the biggest tournament in fantasy football, $25 entry. I got 40 more shots at this thing. You can only do up to 150 teams. It is 72% filled, 2 million to first place, 1 million for second. If you want to join with us, I will give you a quick countdown. You can join live and hopefully join our room. I'm going to click in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we're in. And it filled instantly. So if anybody got in here, let me know in the chat if you made it in. We got the 110 for this draft, and I like draft on this side of the board. Shamrock said, I feel like Brees is almost like a wide receiver 2 behind Wilson, so Fields can have a short pass receiver. Yeah, I can see him being used definitely as a pass catcher, and I think that's part of his value. But I do think he'll struggle maybe with possibly with touchdowns if he gets Fields who can run. He's not used to having a rushing quarterback in his team. Fields can run. Braylon Allen can run. He's a little more of a goal line guy. He's shown he can catch too. There was actually comments about him being a 3-down player, Braylon Allen. So I'm kind of just avoiding taking Brees Hall unless he falls ridiculously low in drafts for me. Like yesterday when I got him in the 5th round, I'll take him there because if he goes off, no one in that league is going to have him in the 5th round, and I have a huge advantage at that point. All right. So the reason I like this year the right side of the board, most of the winning teams for Best Ball Mania lately have been coming from the right side of the board. I think last year the winning team was on the 1-9. But you get two shots at first round talents, because a lot of the guys that go in the back half of the first round are pretty much valued at the same as the people that go in the first half of the second round. So at the 1-2 turn, you get 2 first round talents that you could argue could be the best in the NFL this year. And so taking 2 swings at it is always better than taking 1. Jay Jetta goes at the 6 here. Pretty standard 1 through 6. This is kind of the norm right now, depending on how you mix up the, 2 through 4. McCaffrey normally has been going at 7. Nico Collins goes. So I will take Neighbors still. There's a little bit of talking about he's working through some back issues now along with his toe. But I'm going to draft unafraid, mostly because I believe in his talent. And in the NFL, people get banged up all the time. People play with bad toes all the time. And he's had it his whole life, and it has not stopped him from going off. So hopefully I'm making the right decision. And who knows? If Amon-Ra comes back around anyway, that would be fun. Puka goes at 111. Derrick Henry at 12. He skipped Amon-Ra at 12, so it makes me think Peanuts is not interested in him. So we got to get past Drury here, most likely. Takes Josh Jacobs, Peanuts does, at 13. All right. Amon-Ra did make it back. I do like Achane. He should be back through the first part of the season. So I'm going to take him also unafraid here. So I just took a couple of guys where they're a little banged up right now. The news today was Achane will be back at least by start of the regular season. But Alexander Madison is out permanently for the year with he went to have season-ending neck surgery, we found out today. So he will not be a factor. A couple other things from the preseason this week that I just would share that I think are newsworthy with you guys. Rico Dowdle has been used a lot more in pass catching work, and he did get some action in the pass catching game in preseason. So that makes me believe he's going to have a role in Carolina, similar to probably the role he had in Dallas. And so if he's a third down back and they're going to have to throw from behind because maybe their team's not that great, he might have a value with where he's going in draft. So I'm going to keep taking pieces of Rico Dowdle at times. TreVeyon Henderson is shooting up draft boards. He had the 100-yard kickoff return in week 1 of the preseason, and now he's found the end zone again and looked good in week 2. And so people are kind of freaking out. I actually am moving him in my rankings. I haven't done it yet. I'm going to be moving him above Breece Hall in my rankings, believe it or not. So I think Henderson is really somebody that I need to get more of. And so I'm kind of excited to see what he's doing, but at the same time, I'm a little bit sad because I don't have a lot of him. He's been somebody I haven't drafted a ton of because where he goes in drafts, I typically have liked other players better than him. But I think I need to get some more. Quentin Johnson, big Q fans. I was in on him last year, made a lot of money off of him because people didn't realize he was going to be better than he was. Year 2 wide receiver, people gave up on him, and he did great. Well, he's got a concussion, so don't know what that means for the long term for him, but throughout the season. But that gives you another risk where he could end up being out for the season if he gets another one right this year. So kind of scares you. So might be cautious on Quentin Johnston, but might be hello Trey Harris time, right? Might give you a little bit more value on him, or even Keenan Allen. I guess would be somebody to consider taking more pieces of. I got Keenan Allen in the 18th round in a bunch of leagues already, so or a bunch of teams already before he signed with the Chargers. So I don't need to go too crazy on him. And then Jalen McMillan does have a head injury, so if that continues to plague him, that can be another thing that people need to be aware of this year. Going into the season, I don't think he's going to be a guy that's going to really be that impactful in Tampa Bay. I think Ibuka, this is a better signal that Ibuka is definitely going to be used heavily. All right, we'll get my guy Marvin Harrison here, and we'll keep things going. I'm going to continue to try and grab wide receiver here, and with the 4th pick, it's like itch in my eye. Shimrock said Dowdle was a stutter in Dallas, great talent. Yeah, I mean, he showed up to be, somebody worth getting. And I think Chuba's a great guy, great pick. I had a ton of him last year too, but he was going to like round 11, 12, 13, 14 last year. So, and that's kind of what I try and explain to people is you don't want to grab the guy after he breaks out. You want to get him the year he breaks out. So that's how you win money, right? So you're kind of trying to almost predict the breakout, but you don't want to be foolish about it, right? We're going to get Garrett Wilson here at pick 39, and his ADP is 31. So that feels like a ridiculous fall for him. JSN is kind of in the same boat, but we're just going to take advantage of that faller. But just kind of going back to that concept is, you want to get guys with a high ceiling. Whoops, flip this around. And guys that can outplay their ADP, that can finish higher than where they've either have before or where people predict that they will. And, do I think that Rico Dowdle is going to be the best running back in football this year? Absolutely not. But if he goes in the 13th round and he does enough to impact my team in some weeks or in the fantasy football playoffs, and he ends up being good enough to be call it a 6th round guy, then he's done his job. And that's how you win money. Quick correlation piece here. I just want to throw this up on the screen to remind everyone. So I am looking at the playoff weeks 15, 16, and 17 and looking at when teams play each other. So as I start to build out correlation with my teams, I want to know when I get to week 17 who those folks play. And when we try and stack those folks so that way we get the highest upside possible on our teams. So Henderson goes here in round 4. Yeah, he's definitely picking up. And if you look here, he's up there with Walker and Hall at this point. He's continuing to shoot up draft boards. See, this is my problem with where he's going right now. I would rather have Wilson, JSN, McMillan, just about any of these wide receivers. I like him better than taking Henderson. I'd rather take other running backs in rounds 1 and 2. And then rounds 3, 4, 5, I love the wide receivers, and I want to take more of them there. That's part of the reason why I don't get Henderson. Who are some rookie wide receivers you're targeting later in drafts? I know you like to draft those safe wide receiver 2s, but curious if there are any players you like. Yeah, let's take a look after this couple picks. We'll scroll down and take a quick peek at some of those guys. And I do take shots on some of them, but I try and pick and choose my spots when they're correlating with the team. Like if I have Caleb Williams and, I need a wide receiver and kind of that dead zone of wide receivers that's later in drafts, I do like Luther Burden as a nice little rookie play, decent draft capital on a team that's getting better, probably going to be a pass-first team. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and take the top of ADP here and take Chuba Hubbard, and then we'll see what wide receiver comes back to us here. I'm going to kind of put these in order for myself. And we'll see kind of what plays out. Peanuts. What are you going to do, my friend? Takes Travis Hunter. I think he's going to go another wide receiver here too. But he skipped over Zay Flowers, so he might be skipping him. He went Abuka. And Drury needs wide receiver help here. He's already got 3 running backs. So guarantee he goes wide receiver. Who does he like? That is the question. He goes Deebo Samuel. He definitely scrolled down. So we're going to get Zay Flowers here, which I love it. ADP 57. We get him at pick 63. Love the value there. Let's take a quick peek at some more wide receivers that are later in draft, later rookies. I like Jaden Higgins. I'm just going to kind of go down the list. I get a lot of him lately, so I'm a fan there. I'm a big fan of year 2 wide receivers in particular. I don't get much Trey Harris, but I have a little bit. Let's see. Dante Thornton. I've been getting some Dante Thornton stabs at him. He's a 4-3 wide receiver, very fast on an offense that's probably going to have to throw to keep up. And I think that – what is that noise? Oh, sorry. And I think that he has the kind of breakout potential where he can take one to the house and get a lot of points. I like Torrey Horton in Seattle. I'm not that big on Pat Bryant in Denver. I know a lot of people are. I'm not that big on him. I think he'll be okay, but I'm not a huge fan. Hate Jack Besh. Won't take him. Have drafted him once, and it was on accident. Like, I don't want anything to do with him. He's not he's like the wide receiver 4 right now. He's already not even in the starting lineup. I like Jalen Noel or Noel. I don't even know how you say that. I like him down here. Let's see what else is down here. I guess we're running out of people. By the way, if you didn't figure this out, Isaiah Bond, I guess, is not going to go to jail. And now he's back in the NFL, and Cleveland's going to sign him. So there's that. As a Cleveland Browns fan, what a Cleveland thing to do. Yeah, I think I'm kind of running out of guys. I've thrown Jalen Lane on a team before when I had, Washington stack. Yeah, I guess that's kind of about it for me. I think I have Savion Williams on one team. So, yeah, I guess that's kind of about it. I'd say as I'm going up, like my most drafted, down here is probably going to be the guys that I mentioned earlier. I don't know if that helps, but that's kind of where I'm at. I like taking shots on rookies because we don't know what their ceiling is yet, right? And so rookies, year 2 receivers, I love them because they haven't hit their peak. And that's kind of goes back to my point of I want to take shots on guys that can outperform their ADP. I'm less likely to take what I call a dusty veteran unless I just need points at a position to get me through the regular season. And I'm weak maybe in a position and I need a dusty veteran who fell to me to help me get some points. All right. We could do Aaron Jones. We could do Jayden Reed, Josh Downs, Jaden Higgins. I think I'm going to do Jayden Reed because y'all know how much I love Jaylen Warren. I'm assuming Aaron Jones won't be there. If Aaron Jones is there and he falls that far at 87, I'll get him. If not, Jaylen Warren would be my next pick. He's definitely my guy for me. Aaron Jones goes. And these guys both have 3 running backs already, so they likely will not take another. And actually, I would argue their draft strategy completely, I think, is failing them. So let's look at a couple of them, Drury and Peanuts here. So here's the problem. So Peanuts in particular is in a really bad spot because he's got Evans, Hunter, Ibuka, and that's it. And there's a huge wide receiver drop off now. And so by the time it comes back around, these 3 are going to have to start every week. And, because you have to start 3 wide receivers, or 4 if you use it for the flex, he's in trouble. I don't think you can come back. I don't think there's enough wide receiver talent for him to do anything with this. And he already reached on Jacobs, which I'm not sure I understand either. Drury, on the other hand, at least, even though he's only got 3, does have 2, it could be more of an anchor style, right? His quarterback doesn't correlate with anyone. So, if I was him, what I would have done here is you can't take a tight end and a quarterback in the middle of the rounds, and you only have 3 wide receivers. You needed to get before round 9. By round 9, you need 5 wide receivers. That's my rule. I'm sticking to it. I want 2 to 3 running backs, 5 wide receivers, and a quarterback or a tight end by round 9. That is how I'm going to continue to play it. It is a proven positive strategy. I will say this same strategy, by the way, really applies to your redraft leagues. If you're getting into them, is don't take both the elite tight end and the elite quarterback in your teams unless you're playing in a small field tournament like a 10-team league. Then that changes. But if you're in a standard 12-team, take one or the other. In your first 3 picks, if you have a double flex league, you want to prioritize wide receiver a little more evenly. If it's a single flex, you'll keep the edge towards the running back position. And I would continue to try and target one of those 4 elite quarterbacks as well. And take a couple stabs in your redraft leagues. I think there's plenty of good tight ends that can get you there later in your drafts. You can stream that position. All right. We're going to grab our first quarterback in Justin Fields, pair him up with Garrett Wilson, and we're going to feel great about it. Mobile quarterback, got some legs. Don't know what's going on with Godwin here. He's at 90 ADP, falling down here at 111. The fall is real for my man. So we'll either go Godwin or Dobbins here. I think is probably what we're going to do. We'll let Drury here decide what we're going to get. Yeah. We'll take Godwin. I mean, when you're going to fall that far, we'll take it. 90 ADP falling to pick 111. That feels really good to let that happen. Feels really good. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have plenty of picks left. All right. I thought we were later than that. We got 8 picks left. Would it consider it to be a stack if you got great value on a falling quarterback and stacked him with a pass catching running back you've already drafted, and the wide receiver one was drafted by someone else? Yeah. So I think the values matter a lot, and more than people maybe even give it credit for, the ADP or the closing line value at the end of the year. And you can stack a quarterback with a running back, especially if he's a pass catcher, and still feel pretty good about it. I would tell you that some of the best stacks are the back stacks, meaning to say, I'll use Trevor Lawrence as an example. If you miss out on Brian Thomas, if you miss out on Travis Hunter, but he's got a little bit of legs, he might have a pretty good offense. You could get Travis Etienne here in round 9, like this other friend did. Grab Trevor Lawrence, and then later you could stack him with Dyami Brown at wide receiver and the tight end Brenton Strange. And you can do a back stack that way, and feel pretty good about it. A few years ago, the team that won Best Ball Mania was, what they needed was the quarterback from the Patriots with Tyquan Thornton, who was a rookie, but he was like nobody. And he just happened to be the one guy on the one team. And it was the only time that person had drafted him on any team was the winning team. Tyquan Thornton, he had not drafted on any other team. It's kind of crazy. But he made the back stack work, and it ended up paying off for him. And y'all know that I am plenty likely to screw up these drafts just as much as the next guy. I think Jordan Love will be the target here. Pair him up with Jaden Reed as our second quarterback. I think would be kind of ideal. Trying to figure out where Judkins is going to go. He is not officially signed yet, but the charges are not going to be filed. They're going to be dropped. So I expect him to sign. It's just going to be interesting on where he's going to actually, what role is he going to play? Oh, excuse me. What's that going to look like? All right, Judkins goes. We're going to grab Jordan Love as our quarterback 2. I may consider a third quarterback on this team. It depends on how we feel. We know we're going to need 3 tight ends when we don't have any yet. Probably stop at 5 running backs. I feel good about that room. So it just depends on what wide receivers end up looking like for us. All right. Oh, man. Lots of options here. I'm just going to take Ramondre. When we get Ramondre, the one advantage of getting him here, besides the fact that he's falling a little bit in ADP, right? He's the faller, 123 ADP. Get him at 135. They play New York Jets in week 17, so there's a bring back there. So there's like an extra advantage grabbing him where we're getting him here. See, this happened with me because I had Aaron Jones and JJM fell like 2 rounds. So I grabbed him and just took Naylor at 18. Yeah, I've done the exact same thing. Actually, I have a team the same way. I have a team with Aaron Jones and Naylor on it with JJ McCarthy. And that's okay. And actually, I think on that same team, I might have ended up with Hawkinson too. I'm not sure, but I've definitely done it, especially if, if let's say the quarterback really falls, right? And you happen to have a high valuation on that quarterback, if he falls 2 rounds, like if Caleb Williams is supposed to go in the 10th round, somehow makes it back to me in the 12th round, and I have no Chicago Bears, I'll figure it out, right? Because it's worth it. I'll make it work, especially if it correlates with a week 17 bring back or, whatever it might be. Let's see what this guy at 1 was doing. He's got Jennings and Purdy stacked up together. Trevor Lawrence. See, he did the back stack right now with Lawrence. He's doing Trevor Lawrence and Strange, and I bet you he will go back and grab Dyami Brown later on in this draft to make a stack there. And that could be just fine. Oh, he's got Joe Burrow too with Jamar Chase. So the only issue I have with what he did is when you have Joe Burrow and Brock Purdy, you don't need a third quarterback. That's my opinion. If the value is really good, maybe you do, but I don't love playing it that way. Okay, so the good news here is we have some options. I think I'm going to double stack Jordan Love with my man Romeo. And last year, I was drafting Romeo a good amount last year, and I remember it because there were interviews done by Jordan Love saying Romeo Doubs is his number 1 receiver. He said it, and he felt that kind of connection with him. So who am I to argue with a guy like that, right? And the winning Best Ball Mania team last year also had Romeo Doubs on it. We do need to get a tight end at some point here. So I'm going to grab Hunter Henry as our first tight end. We'll continue that New York Jets, New England, Week 17 bring back here with Ramondre and Hunter Henry. So there's a little bit of relevance here where we get him. So feels kind of good when we do that. So far we got a 2-4-7-1 build. We got Justin Fields, Jordan Love, running back Devon Achane, Chuba Hubbard, Jaylen Warren, Ramondre Stevenson, wide receiver Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison, Garrett Wilson, Zay Flowers, Jaden Reed, Chris Godwin, and Romeo Doubs. And then tight end Hunter Henry. So don't hate it. Kind of feels kind of good. Frizzle, how's it going tonight? It's going well. How are you, my friend? Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. Glad to see you here. You think Mooney will be ready for week 1? I hope so, and I'm going to say yes. I think they're going to be cautious. They were already cautious enough with him. So I'm going to say yes. But I have flexed in some Ray McLeod. My bet with Atlanta is on, obviously, I think Bijan's a great choice. But I think from a receiver standpoint, I think it's going to be a heavy dose of Drake London. I think he's going to definitely take a leap year forward. So I think he's a first-round talent for sure. And then I actually like Kyle Pitts. And I've gotten burned, like many of us have, thinking he's, the greatest thing ever. But I wasn't on it earlier, and then he did an interview. Michael Penix did an interview and stated that Kyle Pitts, he went off in practice or whatever it was, and he said, y'all can get used to that this year because there's going to be plenty more where that came from or something to that extent. And so the way he said it just made me feel like he wants to throw it down people's faces in his contract year that Kyle Pitts is going to be one of his guys, right? And again, I want to be on the side of getting it right because that's how you win $2 million, right? You win because you get it before the spike happens. You guess correctly, right? That's kind of the name of the game. Frizzle says, trying to decide to pick Hunter or Waddle. So it's a tough decision, and I like both, and they go right next to each other. Are you looking at it from a redraft league, or are you looking at it like in best ball? So in best ball, I like mixing up both, which is what we're doing here. But in your regular home redraft leagues, are you looking at picking him there? If so, I would probably give the edge to Waddle because he'll be on the field more often, most likely, because he's not playing defense. And I think they're going to limit, to some extent, Travis Hunter's snaps. So if they do that, I'd rather have Waddle, who's also explosive, and will be on the field more often, because you can only start so many people in a redraft, in your regular leagues at home. So, all right. You know what? We just talked about Rico Dowdle, right, earlier, being a pass catcher in Carolina. And I realized I just took 2 Carolina players on the same team. So don't freak out. You can do that. We'll definitely grab one of the tight ends here. I don't have a lot of Jonnu Smith, but there were a lot of teams when he was on Miami that were taking him in the middle rounds over where TJ Hawkinson was being taken. And now that he's gone, he's like an 18th rounder, not picked at all guy. And feels like if he ends up being a really great selection, I'd rather be the guy that has him on teams in the last round than guy that has him on teams at, in the middle of the draft. Redraft full PPR. Yeah, I still go Waddle. Honestly, if it's me, it's close, but I still go Waddle. And you know what though? Before I answer that next one, so if your quarterback, let's say your quarterback is Trevor Lawrence, in that case, the stack of Lawrence and Hunter would trump Waddle by himself, right? Because the stack gives you an increased ceiling. And when you're doing a redraft league, I still like to stack my quarterback with one of my pass catchers because they bring along, if Waddle goes off and Tua is with him, if Waddle's going off, Tua's going too. So you want them both. And I don't want to finish 5th in my redraft league. I want first or last. That's it. I want to win it all or nothing. So how do you feel about Tyrone Tracy? It's between him or Mixon for me. Feel like it's a no-brainer given Mixon's situation. Yeah, I'd take Tracy 100%, especially in a redraft league situation. And I'd feel good about it too, especially where he's going. I don't know how many other running backs you have on that team already. He may not even need to play every week, depending on how you've drafted or how many teams are in there. If it's a 10-man, 12-man, or 14-person league, and depending on how many flex spots you have. But I like Tracy. I think it's a good choice. There may be some other options around there I may like better, but I wouldn't feel too bad about it. All right. We're going to grab another tight end. I want to go Arroyo. And the reason I'm doing that is we have some Carolina here with these running backs. And Seattle plays Carolina week 17. So I get a week 17 bring back there. And he's also a rookie who's highly athletic. Definitely shows breakout potential. Although, you know what? I was going to take Mason Taylor instead. On most of my Justin Fields teams, I have Taylor on that team. But it won't be today. I spoke this into existence that I'm supposed to be getting Arroyo. It's a sign from above that I was meant to pick him here. Unless Evan Gutt takes him first. All right, he didn't. So now we're going to be done at tight end with Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, and Elijah Arroyo. And the decision will be, do we take a shot at Jackson Dart to pair him up with Neighbors just for fun? Or do we do another wide receiver? I feel like we have enough wide receiver power where we don't need to do that. And I do want to take another Jackson Dart shot. So when you only need to start one quarterback, I'm not counting on using him until later on. But let's say he makes it midway through the season, they make a quarterback change. He's definitely got the rushing upside. His number one target is Neighbors. And since he's not drafted in many leagues, it definitely gives us a little bit of an advantage if he ends up being the guy, right? So got to take your shots where you can. So let's recap this team, and then we'll do one more. We got Justin Fields, Jordan Love, Jackson Dart at quarterback. Running back, Devon Achane, Chuba Hubbard, Jaylen Warren, Ramondre Stevenson, Rico Dowdle. Wide receiver, we have Malik Nabers, Marvin Harrison, Garrett Wilson, Zay Flowers, Jaden Reed, Chris Godwin, Romeo Doubs. Tight end, we have Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, Elijah Arroyo. We did double stack Jaden Reed and Romeo Doubs to go along with Jordan Love. We have Garrett Wilson stacked up with Justin Fields. We have Jackson Dart stacked up with Malik Nabers. Baltimore plays Green Bay in Week 17, and we have Zay Flowers to go with the Green Bay Week 17 correlation. So that's kind of nice. New England plays the Jets, so we have Hunter Henry, and Ramondre Stevenson correlating against our Justin Fields stack. So there's a little bit of advantage there. And then just a quick glance here, because I almost forgot because I don't take them enough from a stack. The Giants play the Raiders in Week 17, as you can see by my chart on the screen. And if we look, I don't have any Las Vegas Raiders, so not the end of the world. We don't have that there. But I feel pretty good about the team. And so I'm feeling like we're in a good rhythm right now, and I'm going to definitely keep this thing rolling. Frizzle says, I have 2 running backs, JT and Kyron, and there's 3 flex spots, and it's a 12-man. Yeah, I think if you got JT and Kyron and Tyrone Tracy is going to be an option for you, I think it's a great option. Absolutely great. Shamrock said, Dart looked great yesterday. Yeah, I totally agree. I think he looked really, really nice. All right, we're going to do one more Best Ball Mania tonight. We got 39 more shots at this thing, so let's pop in here. If you want to draft with us, I'm in now. 7 more people in this lobby. If you want to draft with us, jump on in. Love to have you draft in here with us. Ball don't lie. Welcome, my friend. Boys, Goddard 26 and 27, 5th rounders for Shakir and Christian Kirk in a 6-man dynasty league. Who won? So first of all, a 6-man dynasty league, I've never heard of it. It's crazy. The fact that you did that, I think everybody wins in a 6-man dynasty league because everybody feels like their roster is amazing. I would say Shakir and Kirk probably win in this situation, but it depends on what's on your roster. If you don't have a tight end at all, then the Goddard team might win. I don't even think in a 6-man dynasty, I don't think Shakir and Kirk are even playing, if I'm being honest. 2 more people waiting on in this one. Frizzle, I'm at the 6-12 at the turn, so I can get 2 picks. And for running backs, it's pretty much just Mixon, B-Rob, Jaylen Warren, Tyrone is my options unless I go 2 wide receivers. So, Frizzle, I got to be honest with you. Jaylen Warren is like my guy this year. He's the number 1 on the depth chart on Pittsburgh, a run-heavy offense. He has pass catching skills. I see him similar to a Chase Brown breakout type year. And so out of the options you have at that point, I would take Jaylen Warren over any of those. And then I would probably go Tyrone Tracy, then Brian Robinson in that order would probably be mine. I don't know what wide receivers are sitting there for you, but there could be some options there too. Shamrock, thanks for the help. Catch up with you later. Have a great night, everyone. Shamrock, thanks for checking in with me. I appreciate you. Thanks for the love as always. Good to have you on. Please don't forget to throw a like on the way out. It helps all more than you know. And for those of you that are just joining, please like, subscribe. I do go live doing these drafts every night, usually between 10 and midnight, and doing this leading up to the regular season. And then we'll do some drafts. We'll do some updates during the season, and then we'll do some fantasy sports betting as well, where we do prop bets and things of that nature during the regular season. And I will answer your start-sit questions and things of that nature every week. All right. Last draft of the night. Let's make this one a good one. Let's try and make this the $2 million draft, right? I feel like we've had some great teams this year that really have a chance to do some damage in a good way. Frizzle says it's wide receivers. It's Rice, Hunter, Waddle, Olave, Judy is my options. Okay, so so you already told me what running backs you have. What wide receivers do you have in the team so far? That would probably be my best way to answer that one. We're at the 112 for this one. Jefferson goes here at the 7. Kind of becoming a new area for him as Jefferson at the 6, 7, 8. And I love it. I love it. You got Jamar Chase, Scary Terry, and Sutton. So, and then you had, so I'd go one of each. I'd get Jaylen Warren as a running back, and then I would probably grab, I'd probably grab Waddle, would be me. Either Waddle or Hunter, I guess, depending on if you have an option or, your preferred option there. Yeah, I get one of each at that point. All right, so we're sitting here at the 12. We've got Amon-Ra St. Brown that falls to us here, so we'll take him. And then I just talked about this. I think Drake London has some huge upside, so I'm going to go ahead and scroll down just slightly and get Drake London, and I'm going to feel fantastic about it. It's the first team, I think, that I can recall having Amon-Ra and Drake London on the same team. Not that it's that hard to do. I just don't think I've done it. So feels kind of good to start with Amon-Ra and Drake London here. Thanks for the help. Absolutely. Anytime. I'm happy you are here. And that's what we're here for, to help each other. Yeah, I'm going to be drafting all these teams every year, like always. And I'm doing it whether I'm streaming or not. So if I can help along the way, then I'm doing something right and we're helping each other. There may be somebody else that's in here in this chat that needed that same question answered, right? Or had some similar thoughts. So we can share that with each other. Have you done best ball before, or is this your first time looking into best ball? Lad McConkey goes. Still don't like it. I get disgusted every time I see it. I think in the last draft he went in the 3rd round, and I don't see that all that often, but that's where he belongs. Never done best ball. Well, then I will try not to bore you with my normal rant that I do at the beginning of every video. However, I'm going to share a little bit about it so you can kind of get an idea of what we're doing. So I'm on Underdog Fantasy. It's my favorite place to do best ball drafts. With best ball drafts, there's no time commitment during the regular season. There's no trades, no waiver wires. You just draft your team and the best players play every week automatically, tournament style. And so you have one quarterback that plays every week. You get 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and a flex. Flex can be running back, tight end, or wide receiver. And it automatically sets your best lineup for you based on how they played during that week. So you don't have to do any management. So that way you can draft plenty of teams. I've actually drafted over 500 already this year. We'll probably be getting into almost 700 by the time the league starts. And so that's how I'm able to do that. And by doing these drafts, it helps you get ready for the regular season because you're playing against other players who are trying to win money as well. So they're making, quality decisions with their life and when they're trying to draft these teams. So it really helps you also prepare for your regular home leagues as well. And I've done pretty well the last 4 years doing these best ball drafts. I've won over $10,000 every year, and I'm trying to keep that trend going. Love to win 2 million. So this particular tournament that I'm in is called Best Ball Mania. It is the largest tournament in the world. $2 million to first place, $1 million to second, $500,000 to third. And I'll show you a little bit about the prize pool here in just a second. But I absolutely love it. And if you like drafting teams, if that's fun to you, then you will absolutely love playing best ball. I got addicted 4 years ago, a little uncomfortable at first. I did about 5 teams, and by the time I got to team like 10, I couldn't stop drafting. All right. I like what just happened here. So we're at pick 36. Kyren Williams falls to us. He's ADP of 31. So we're going to take advantage of the faller in Kyren Williams. And then we'll do the same thing here. We're going to go ahead and take our first quarterback, Jayden Daniels, an elite quarterback. Y'all know I love to draft with an elite quarterback on my team. It has been a proven strategy for most teams to do well. Let's see. Yeah, so Underdog only does best ball drafts. There are different types of leagues, and here I will actually, while we're waiting for this to come around. So this particular one here is Best Ball Mania. You can do up to 150 maximum entries. So you can do 150 teams total. These are $25 entry $25 per entry for this particular tournament. There will be 672,000 teams in it. How it works is, you get into a pod, and it's not the same pod you're drafting with. So these teams I'm drafting with are not the teams I will be in a pod with. It's completely at random. So there might be, 5 teams that have Chase Brown, in that pod, for example, etc. But 2 out of those 12 teams, the top 2 teams will advance. That's for weeks 1 through 14. Week 15, you go against 13 or 12 other teams, and the top team advances. And then week 16, you got to beat 15 other teams. And if you get that far, which is very hard to do, it's a 539-seat final. And then you can kind of see the prize breakdown here. $2 million to first, $1 million to second, $500,000 to third. And there's some serious money here. And even if you finished 112th place, you still get your money back. So, and there's a little bit more about the schedule, right? So this is just one type of tournament that's on Underdog, and I'll show you here in just a second. Let me do this. Let me back out. And you can see this is Best Ball Mania, which is the one I'm in, but there's different kinds, different buy-ins, different size tournaments. Like the big dog here, there's only 2,100 teams, but they're $500 entry tournaments. But then there's some smaller ones, like the Puppy 3. 225,000 people will be in it, but they're only $5 entries, but you can still win $1 million in prizes. And there's a charity tournaments. So there's all different kinds, and they keep adding, and as tournaments fill, they'll add new ones. So definitely highly encourage it. If you've not been on and doing this, I think you'll love it. What would be a good round to pick up a quarterback? I still don't have a QB. Was planning on picking one up later in the draft. So with your regular redraft leagues, my advice is if you don't get one of we'll call it the big 4, which is Jayden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, or Jalen Hurts, if they're already gone, which based on what you've got left on the board, they're definitely going to be gone. I would wait until you get into the later rounds and pick 2 of them, because at that point you're just kind of streaming. And if you can stack, your quarterbacks, or they have rushing upside, like maybe you get Caleb Williams and, Dak Prescott or something. Actually, if Joe Burrow's there, which he probably isn't, it would be my guess, but you could stack him with Chase. That would be ideal. Sorry, 1 second here. Draft board's coming around, and I know what I want to do. So I'm going to go with 2 wide receivers here. One of them for sure is going to be Deebo Samuel, to stack him with Jayden Daniels to give us that upside. And then we'll go Emeka Egbuka. I don't have as much of him, and I like getting a piece of him here. So we'll do that. Feels kind of good. Let me turn this back around. So let me go back and see what your wide receivers were. You had Chase, Terry, and Sutton. So you're, if Burrow's gone, Daniels is gone, right? You could get Bo Nix to go at Sutton, right? And maybe you get, Caleb or Justin Fields, somebody with a rushing upside, right? That you can just kind of play the matchups with. It's kind of how I would do it. And you don't have to stack. I don't want people to feel like it's like a requirement, but I always try and stack it with my better pass catchers. Like if I'm going to start Jamar Chase, or for you, actually, if you look at Waddle or Hunter as your options that you were looking at in wide receiver, if you get one of them, then for example, then I would try and get Trevor Lawrence, or I'd try and get Tua as one of my 2 quarterbacks, right? To stack with those guys. It just kind of gives you more of a ceiling. If they fail, they fail bad and it hurts you. But if they win you a league, right? So that's kind of the way I look at it. And I don't play fantasy football to just do okay. I'm trying to win. We want to win championships here. So we got that championship mindset going on. And real quick, I'd be remiss if I didn't put this on the screen. If you live in any of these yellow states on the map that I threw on the screen, these are the states Underdog is available. And as long as you meet the age requirements, you can join and draft on Underdog. And actually, in my description of this video and every video, I have a link to Underdog Fantasy. If you use my promo code Perfect216 when you do your first deposit, you get a 50% deposit bonus. So if you deposit $100, you get $50 for free. You deposit $200, you get $100 for free. So highly recommend taking advantage of that if you want to give Underdog a shot. Don't want to pass up free money. All right. It's kind of coming back around here. Let's see what's on the board. I have my ranks, just so everybody knows, next to the ADP. ADP is what everyone drafts with on the site, because that's what's there. It goes by based on how players are being taken. Then I put my own ranks in next to them, so I can kind of, if I need to break the tie on a player I'm trying to decide on, I oftentimes will side with whoever is at ADP. I'm sorry, whoever I have ranked higher, unless the ADP value is noticeably strong. All right, let's see. We got 2 shots at this thing, so I need a receiver. I'll take a shot at a rookie in Jaden Higgins. And then, I'm going to continue to take the guy that I'm telling everybody they need to take, and that's Jaylen Warren as my second running back. So we'll start Jaden Daniels, Kyren Williams, Jaylen Warren, wide receiver Amon-Ra, Drake London, Deebo Samuel, Emeka Egbuka, and Jaden Higgins. A couple of rookies, take some darts at. Deebo Samuel is stacked up with Jaden Daniels. So pretty nice start here for us overall. Got to go. Appreciate the help and have a good rest of your night. You too, my friend. Thank you for stopping in. Don't forget to subscribe, throw notifications on if you'd like, and join us when we draft. I will try and get on even more often than just in the evenings as the season gets closer, at least on the weekends, but definitely will be on in the evenings, and would love to have you here with us and the rest of the group. And good luck with your redrafts as well. All right. Kelsey Hawkinson, go. We've got a Baker up. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Baker's sitting there. We're still 15 picks away. We got a chance. We got a minute. I don't want to get ahead of myself here. Hey, throw some prayers up for the rookie pass rusher of the Panthers, Nick Scorton. He had a collapsed lung during practice on Thursday, and supposed to miss some more time. The injury is more serious than people initially thought. So throw a little bit of prayers up his way if you believe in that. But I'm sure he could use a little love. Definitely sad to hear that. All right, we're 8 picks away from making some magic happen here. Speaking of magic, I hope Jaden Daniels is still a magician for this team to work. If he becomes the magician that he was last year, that would be fantastic. All right. We definitely have some people that we like. I kind of wanted to get Tyler Warren on this team, but that's okay. I mean, if it gets really crazy, we could always just scroll all the way down and grab Jared Goff too. Be done at quarterback here. Would not be a terrible decision. All right. So do we take Dobbins or Charbonnet? That is the question. I think we'll take Dobbins. I don't have a lot of him. And then we'll take, I guess we'll just do it. Yeah, let's just take Jared Goff. And we'll be done at quarterback when we take Jared Goff and Jaden Daniels. 2 quarterbacks are plenty. So we have 2 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, and 5 wide receivers so far through 10 rounds. Nobody at tight end, but that's okay. We can make that up in just a little bit. And I feel pretty good about this team. It feels pretty balanced. We have some rookies. We have some veterans, some guys who could break out. High-powered offenses. Definitely feels like a pretty good team. A little bit of a run on quarterbacks as normal. Some of them got pulled up into the 9th round a little earlier than normal. Burden goes at 118. Thinking about tight ends that could come back to us here that would be useful. Definitely Zach Ertz to stack with Jaden Daniels would be an ideal, a tight end that'll come back later. McCarthy goes. It's interesting McCarthy goes here. He has. So this is the type of drafting that, these are people that are going to like $25 on fire. You have no Minnesota Vikings receiver, so you're not stacking your quarterback. And when you're going against 672,000 other teams, if J.J. McCarthy goes off, there will be other teams that have the receivers that go off with him. And so you really need to at least have 1 or 2 pass catchers stacked with your quarterback, ideally. That is definitely the ideal way to do this. We're playing for upside here. If you were at your home redraft leagues, then not as relevant to stack, still important, still gives you an edge, but not as important as these best ball teams with these large field tournaments. All right. We know that we can afford to scroll down a little bit here because we only get to pick once. I'm going to do Ray Davis here, I guess. Now, we could take another running back, just be done, but I almost feel like I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to take Trey Benson here, be done at running back. He continues to be the guy that is probably going to split reps now with Arizona. And so I definitely want a lot of him. So we'll be done at running back. We're done at quarterback. We will need at least 2 wide receivers, 3 tight ends, and maybe so it looks like an 8th. Yeah, so we'll have 3 more wide receivers, 3 tight ends, and that's kind of where we'll finish this team off. Ideally here, Zach Ertz is going to come back to us to stack with Jaden Daniels, and then the rest of it will just be trying to get high upside guys or guys that might be good fits on our team. Cannot believe tomorrow's Monday. Back to work. Back to the office. Hopefully everybody here had a great weekend. And Cam Ward goes. The guy in the end is driving me nuts. But there is a lot of non-badge drafters in these drafts. All right. I think we need to get a wide receiver and a tight end here. I could do double tight end, but I think the wide receiver is probably going to be more valuable at this point. Okay, so we'll take Zach Ertz, which is what we were hoping we'd get back around, and then my man Tillman, wide receiver 2 in Cleveland. I think he'll have a great role, and we'll kind of keep things rolling through. We need 2 more tight ends and 2 more wide receivers, I believe, if I got the math right. So, yeah, 4 more picks to go. And then we will finish this one off, and I feel great about this team. This team feels really nice. Very, very complete team. Let me just kind of in a perfect world, Chig Okonkwo comes back to me, but there's definitely some other receivers here. I mean, tight ends here that I like. Wide receiver, we could do Tesla correlates. Noah Brown in Washington, who I actually like better than Tesla. I don't even think that's how you say his name. I say Tesla, but it's not. I think if it works out this way, we'll do the 2 tight ends first because those are bleeding short. And then we'll get our wide receivers after. But somehow in 11 picks, I don't see both Okonkwo and K-Dot still being there. Would be pretty nice if it happened that way, but I doubt it. But we've been pretty lucky tonight, so you never know. It may actually pan out pretty well. Getting a little closer. See what Swamp Daddy here does. Goes Anthony Richardson. All right, we're at least going to get one of them. We're going to end up with both. That's pretty cool. Chig and K-Dot come on down. Works out great. That's a pretty solid tight end room. You know, can rotate through these guys. You only need one of them to play. That feels really nicey. Nicey, John Gruden. I feel like I've shouted out John Gruden like 3 times this year. All right, so we're just down to wide receiver only with our last 2 picks. And then we'll be done with this one, and we'll be done drafting tonight and should be back on tomorrow for sure. I do want to kind of look at, I mean, there's still some really nice options that I need to consider. With these last 2 picks. I would definitely get Michael Wilson if he falls. Yeah, another way to do this might be, you know, who's going to be. I'm hearing in Dallas that Turpin might end up being the wide receiver 3. I don't know. I don't know. Tesla goes, actually. I didn't expect him to be drafted at all, but he's been picked. Few more picks here left to go, and then we'll be done with this team. Kind of crazy. Question is, do I need another Washington pass catcher? I don't need it, but it's not a bad way to go. So we're definitely going to do Michael Wilson. I still don't understand how he's being drafted so late in drafts. I don't get it. So we get the Noah Brown with the triple stack or Turpin. Let's just do Noah Brown. Go with your gut. So the team is finished. It is a 2-5-8-3 build, Washington, Detroit. Jaden Daniels, Jared Goff as quarterback. Running back, Kyron Williams, Jalen Warren, J.K. Dobbins, Ray Davis, Trey Benson. Wide receiver, we have Amon-Ra, Drake London, Deebo Samuel, Emeka Ibuka, Jaden Higgins, Cedric Tillman, Michael Wilson, Noah Brown. Tight ends, Zach Ertz, Chig Okonkwo, and Cade Otton. Pretty balanced team. Triple stack with our elite quarterback, Jaden Daniels. We have a single stack with Jared Goff and Amon-Ra. Detroit plays Minnesota week 17. We don't have any Minnesota players for their bring back. And Washington plays Dallas week 17. We don't have week 17 bring back. So not my favorite team, but definitely a quality team that has a chance to do some damage in this tournament. So I feel pretty good about it. So with that, I am going to be done for the night. I appreciate you guys being on. If you have not, if it's your first time jumping in, like, subscribe. I go live every night between 10 p.m. and midnight, usually, sometimes earlier. Draft 2 to 3 teams a night right here on Underdog Fantasy. Click the link below. Use my promo code PERFECT216, and you can join Underdog Fantasy. Draft with us. Get a 50% deposit bonus on your first deposit. And would love to have you in here with us on the main event team. So y'all have a good evening. Hope you have a fantastic Monday, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night.